People hit me up like, King, I know you tired. You ain't getting no sleep. And the truth be told, before this look, I ain't been getting no sleep. You know what I'm saying? I just been outside working, lifestyle. You know, lifestyle just life. You know what I'm saying? And, but now I'm damn sure not getting no sleep. This up every morning, and then around the morning time, he like to do that little live concert I be doing with him. And, he like to walk around the house. So,
I gotta say something about this, bro. Dwayne Wade, you gone too fucking far, dog. That is a male. A 12-year-old. At 12, they don't even know what their next meal gonna be. They don't have it figured out yet. He might meet a woman, anything at 16 and fall in love with her. But his be gone. How you gonna, like, bro, you going too far, dog. Don't cut his off, bro. Like, bro, for real, if he gonna be gay, let him be gay. But don't cut his off, bro.
The fall of the Harris dynasty. Inside the courtroom. Meltdown that shook hip-hop. The courtroom was supposed to be just another battleground in hip-hop's long history of feuds, lawsuits, and rivalries. But on this day, in front of flashing cameras and a nation glued to live streams, it became the scene of a dynasty's public collapse. Silence hung so heavy that even the faint scrape of a chair sounded like thunder. Reporters lined every bench, their notebooks open, their eyes unblinking. Families of fans who had grown up idolizing the Harrises watched from the gallery, clinging to the hope that their heroes could weather yet another storm. But what happened next was beyond scandal. It was devastation. It was the kind of implosion no PR machine could spin, no loyal fan base could excuse. This wasn't just about leaked texts or rumors. This was the unmasking of an empire. The Harris family, T.I., Tiny, and their son, King Harris, entered the courtroom together. Once symbols of resilience, music royalty, and American hip-hop culture, they now looked like shadows of themselves. T.I., usually composed and charismatic, clenched his jaw as he walked, each step carrying the weight of a man on the edge. Tiny clutched her son's hand tightly, her face drained of color, lips trembling with whispered prayers. And King, the young heir whose brash persona had been both loved and hated online, shuffled in under a hoodie, his eyes bloodshot, his entire demeanor one of a boy already beaten. Then Boosie walked in, confident, sharp, and radiating a sense of vengeance. He carried in his hands what he called the smoking gun. He didn't look at the judge nor at the gallery. His gaze locked straight on King Harris, and in that moment, the room felt less like a courthouse and more like a stage set for an execution. The first blow. The judge called for order, his gavel echoing like a warning bell. Boosie's lawyer rose, his voice booming. "Your Honor," he declared, "what we present today is not speculation, not rumor. It is fact. Hard, undeniable evidence of King Harris's hidden life. A life his family has fought to conceal. A life that, once revealed, will shatter the image they've built for years." He slammed a thick folder onto the table. The sound made several people in the gallery flinch. The judge frowned, raising his gavel again. But the lawyer pressed forward. Contained inside were text messages, dozens of them, allegedly pulled from King Harris's private conversations. A projector flickered on. The room dimmed slightly as the first screenshot appeared on screen. It was grainy but unmistakable. King's words glared back at the world. "Dad doesn't know. If they find out the truth about me and the parties, it's over." The room gasped. A wave of whispers rose, some so sharp they carried like cries. Reporters bent over their laptops, typing furiously. Cell phones buzzed as live tweets raced into the ether. At the defense table, King froze. T.I.'s jaw tightened. Tiny covered her face, already sobbing. The gallery leaned in, some clutching their chests in disbelief. The lawyer let the words linger before turning to the judge. "This is just the beginning. A double life exposed with a swipe. More messages filled the screen. each one darker, more desperate than the last. Conversations with unnamed contacts, discussions of late-night parties, coded references to activities that hinted at something beyond youthful rebellion. If this gets out, I'm finished. They'll bury me alive. I can't keep pretending. The truth is too big. The gallery was stunned into silence. For years, King Harris had presented himself as cocky, brash, untouchable. Online, he'd flaunted a lifestyle built on his father's fame and his own ambitions. But these words painted a different picture, a young man spiraling, trapped in secrets that could obliterate his future. Then came the voice notes. A clerk pressed play. The courtroom speakers crackled. And suddenly, King Harris's own voice filled the room. They don't know. Dad can't find out. If the press gets this, it's over. The money, the deals, everything gone. I can't stop, Boosie. I'm trapped. Gasps echoed. Tiny sobbed uncontrollably. T.I. surged forward, only to be restrained by bailiffs. Reporters typed so fast their fingers blurred. Another recording played. This one darker. They set me up, but I played along. I had no choice. VH1 was in on it. The producers told me to stay quiet. They wanted the ratings. They wanted the drama. And now it's too big to stop. The courtroom imploded. Shouts rang out. The judge pounded his gavel, his face flushed, his voice demanding order. But order was gone. The implication was nuclear. VH1, the network that had made the Harris family reality TV icons, was implicated in exploiting King's downfall for profit. Within seconds, hashtags exploded across the internet. VH1 exposed, Harris downfall, King confession trended worldwide. Flashbacks of glory for longtime fans, the contrast was unbearable. Just a few years ago, the Harrises had been reality TV royalty. Their show had painted them as a modern hip-hop family, glamorous yet relatable. Flawed yet resilient. T.I., once the king of the South, reinvented himself as a family man. Tiny, the devoted mother, stood by her husband through thick and thin. King, though often brash, was framed as the heir to a dynasty, a boy destined for greatness. Red carpets. Chart-topping singles. Family interviews filled with laughter. Social media posts of vacations, celebrations, and milestones. And now those images replayed in fans' minds as they watched the courtroom unravel on live stream. The smiles, the music, the laughter, all rotting under the weight of leaked texts and trembling confessions. Boosie's cold vengeance, Boosie leaned forward. His eyes locked on King. His voice was low, steady. "Sharp! You thought you could hide behind your daddy's name," he said, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. "You thought you could lie, cheat, and play the world. But the truth don't lie. And today, it just destroyed you." The judge slammed his gavel again, demanding silence. But the words had already landed. King's face was pale, his lips trembling. He looked less like the cocky boy fans mocked online and more like a broken child, drowning in a nightmare of his own making. His father stared at him, rage and heartbreak etched across his face. Tiny clutched tissues, her body racked with sobs. Social media inferno outside the courthouse was a circus. Protesters screamed, fans wept, journalists shoved microphones at anyone willing to speak. News vans lined the street. Helicopters hovered above. On social media, the reaction was instant and merciless. TikTok edits flooded timelines, overlaying King's confessions with dramatic music. Instagram Lives drew millions as influencers debated whether the texts were real or planted. Twitter split into factions. Justice for King versus Harris exposed. One fan posted a tearful video. "I grew up watching their show. I believed in them. I don't even know what to think anymore." It went viral within hours, the nuclear blow. The final recording was the deadliest. A USB drive was inserted. The courtroom fell silent. King's trembling voice whispered through the speakers. If this gets out, Dad's empire dies. The Harris name, it's over. And maybe that's what needs to happen. The silence that followed was suffocating. Tiny screamed and collapsed to the floor. T.I. froze, his face hollow, his eyes dead. The betrayal was complete. The dynasty was gone. Aftermath. An empire in ruins by nightfall, the internet was ablaze. Fans burned Harris merchandise on live streams. Collaborators rushed to distance themselves. Endorsements evaporated overnight. Even VH1 issued a cold, sterile statement. We are reviewing the allegations and recordings with legal counsel. The Harrises left the courthouse under riot shields. Protesters screamed. Journalists shoved cameras into their faces. T.I. guided Tiny into an armored vehicle. King trailed behind, his head bowed, looking less like a prince of hip-hop and more like a prisoner of his own choices. And Boosie? He stepped onto the courthouse steps, his phone raised high, his voice triumphant. The truth don't lie. The Harris family just did. That single line became a cultural landmark, replayed millions of times across TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The bigger questions, in the weeks that followed, analysts asked the same questions. Was King Harris truly the villain, or was he a pawn in Boosie's ruthless game? Were the texts authentic, or carefully planted to ensure his downfall? Was VH1 complicit, or was King using them as a scapegoat? The truth blurred. The fallout deepened. And the victims were not just the Harrises, they were the millions who believed in them. Because this wasn't just a family scandal. It was a cultural tragedy, the collapse of a dynasty.